presentation by our esteemed finance director in the town, Paul Evans. And it says the 2025 preliminary budget, which we approved back on September 5th, but really it's a lead-in to the public hearing tonight and the adoption potentially of the final. The town is yours.
All right. I'd like to start off with kind of a high-level look at the budget, a comparison of 2025 to 2024. I broke it down by operating funds, the sewer fund, and all the other special districts and other funds. So, as you can see, the expenditures and the revenues are up substantially year to year. The expense up about 5.3 million, and the revenue about 4.8 million. And we've made up the difference with appropriated fund balance by appropriating an additional 457,000. So I'll get into the reasons why there's such a big jump. On the revenue side, the two largest pieces are obviously property taxes, which is about 717,000, and then there's revenue from other sources, which is up over $4 million year to year. So we'll take a look at the expenses. The expense categories with the largest increases are employee compensation, capital purchases, contractual costs, and debt service. We'll get into the reasons for that. Basically, on the compensation side, we're up about $1 million year to year. And there was a police union contract that was not settled until March of 2024, which was well into the time frame when we finalized the budget. That included a 3% increase for 24 and a 4% increase for 25. Plus, there were some bonuses built in there, which were funded by ARPA money. And then we also had 3 new full-time employees built in the 25 budget. In regard to capital purchases, that includes all the equipment for sewer and highway, building improvements, etc. Highway year to year, they're actually in the budget. They have just over $1 million of equipment. 125,000 of that is going to be paid for with CHIPS money. We budgeted to replace the town hall elevator. That's 125,000. We're looking to replace the Arboretum parking lot. That's 180,000. Police vehicles is about 165, and improvements to the sewer collection system is 303,000. In the contractual cost category, that's up about $1 million year to year. And well, there are several large components of this. That includes our insurance premiums to our carrier. It includes $150,000 for building facility assessment, $97,500 for GIS services, $150,000 for the master plan, and $397,000 for wastewater treatment chemicals. It also includes $573,000 for sludge hauling, which we're hoping to, we know we're going to degrease it once we get the drying machine in place, which is all part of the current wastewater treatment plant project. And there's about $235,000 for vehicle leases. In addition, debt service is up substantially. Obviously, we have quite a few capital projects going on around town. I'll get into the details of those later. But we did borrow about $51 million in August of 2023, and we renewed that 51 and borrowed an extra 16 to get it up to about $67 million in August of 24. So the principal and interest on that does become due in 2025. And the budget also includes a $540,000 transfer to the sewer capital reserve, whereas in the prior year was $50,000. On the capital projects and debt side, so we have the Sandbar Park project, which is really made up of 4 separate projects, which total about $9.5 million. To date, we've spent the net project cost is about $3.6 million. The Sandbar Park projects were beneficiary of about $5 million in grants. We have the wastewater treatment plant project with an original bond resolution of 81.5. The gross amount borrowed to date is $35 million. The net cost to date is $12.5 million. And we've received, well, we've been earmarked for a $20 million grant from New York State EOC. So far, we've received about $16 million of that grant. There's also the T-Moore Road to Phillips Road conveyance pipe. It's about a $6.1 billion bond resolution. We're expecting it to come in about $6,300,000. The spend to date is about $2 million. And then we have the highway building. The bond resolution on that is $28,250,000. The gross amount borrowed to date is $22,100,000. We've spent about $11,600,000 altogether so far. So when you take a look at this, the net cost represents the gross project expenditures adjusted for revenue, which are the grants that I spoke of. But the bond resolution amount represents the expected gross spend on the project. So, without taking into account the grants and the other sources. So when you take a look at the amount that's bonded is not always what the final net cost of the project ends up being. So you might bond, I've got a total bond of $126 million here. The amount that we actually borrow is going to be considerably less than that, thanks to the grants. On the revenue side, the main increases year to year are property taxes, sewer charges and entrance fees, about $2.4 million, and sewer debt reimbursement, which is actually coming from Fairlife. When you get into the details, so the property tax year to year is up about $717,000, which is about 3.34%. We do budget for Monroe County sales tax. The amount is pretty flat year to year. It's about $6.7 million, but it's a large portion of the other revenue category. Sewer charges and entrance fees are up substantially due to the expectation of Coca-Cola Fairlife coming online in October of 2025. That includes an EDU charge based on how much flow they send to our plant. For every 60,000 gallons they send, they're charged one EDU, and currently one EDU is about $250. And we're expecting, once they get full up and running, there could be as many as 9,000 EDUs per year. This also includes the entrance fee. Coca-Cola was charged basically a $22 million entrance fee to come online. And that is being paid over a 10-year period. So the 2025 budget includes $2.2 million of that entrance fee. The sewer debt reimbursement, that's up $600,000, and that's due primarily to Fairlife's commitment to pay 96% of the debt service on that conveyance pipe project that I mentioned a few minutes ago. And also interest earnings has been trending up. Rates have been hovering around the 5% level for the past year or so. They've come down a bit lately, but I was able to increase the budget a bit in that category. Let's talk a little bit about appropriated fund balance. Some of you may not understand what that is, but essentially it's a surplus. The town operates with many different funds. They're like several little companies, and some of these funds have extra money, which is built up over the years. So we are able to take portions of that money and appropriate it, and basically treat it as a revenue to balance the budget, which helps minimize the tax burden overall to the taxpayers. So we do have a fund balance policy that really requires that we try to maintain fund balance at a level of 15% to 50% of actual expenditures within the 4 operating funds. And some of those funds are actually outside this range. So we've come up with a multi-year plan to bring them back in line. So we are appropriating a significant amount, and 25. It's about, altogether, it's about 3.9 million. The biggest chunks are coming from the general townwide fund, the general part-time fund, and the highway part-time fund. So if you look at those percentages, the two that are currently way down the line are the two part-time funds, the general and the highway. General part-time is about 180%, highway part-time is about 198%. So it's not prudent to try to adjust these all in a year. So for several years, we'll try to bring those back in line with the fund balance policy. So the property tax rates, you're currently at 540 for the year. Last year was 506. So year to year, it's up 34 cents or about 6.7%. But one of the interesting facts, the actual rate, this is for property located outside the village, is less than the rate was in 2022. We were actually at 543 4 years ago. In regard to the sewer rent rates, that's another component that you'll see in your tax bill. The operation and maintenance rate is going to come in around $209, and the capital charge about $43. The total about $253, which compares to last year, which was $296.83. So year to year, we're actually decreased by about $43.90, about 14.8%. And a lot of that is due to the additional revenue that we're receiving from Fairlight, not only the entrance fee, but the EDU charges. So historically, it's kind of interesting that the sewer system infrastructure needs have been underfunded. I keep a history of all the rates. When I looked at the rates from 1998 to 2018, the rate stayed within the range of 162.50 to 167.50. So it was grossly underfunded for years. I mean, money should have been put away into the sewer capital reserve fund, which certainly would help with plan improvements at this point. So the 25 budget does include a $540,000 contribution to the sewer capital reserve. So for the average taxpayer, an average home outside the village has a assessed value of $177,000. The town's equalization rate is quite low, so that would be approximately fair market value of about $340,000. If that home is connected to the sewer system, they will have a total tax bill of $1,208.73, which compares to last year of $1,192.45. So altogether, you're up $1,628, which is only 1.4%. So overall, things look pretty good. We were able to keep things under the tax cap, currently about $5,000 under the cap. Questions or comments? I would like to
Can you go back two
try to answer.
slides? Can you go back 2 slides?
Sure.
Okay.
2 slides.
No, one ahead. No, right there. So I think we've done a great job as far as looking ahead and funding the sewer capital reserve, which, as you pointed out, has been underfunded for years. Now we're lowering the rate for the sewer, and that includes $500,000 going into the sewer capital reserve.
That's correct.
I just want to emphasize that.
Yeah, beat me to the punch, John, but I don't want to be redundant to what John said, but if this board wanted to follow the same underfunding of 1998 to 2018, if we decided to put no money in the reserve in the sewers in this year's budget, I think our $252.93 on that slide would probably go down to about $211.
It's probably about right.
And that's great for 2025 for the taxpayers that own the property, but it's the definition of insanity. We would be doing what we did in the past, and what we did in the past put the town board in 2017 and this town board into a really tough situation where there was no money in savings, there was no money in reserve, and the sewer plant had rotted. When you have no money in reserve and you've got to pay to rebuild it, you got to go borrow it. And this town board said, you know what? We don't want to do that to town boards and citizens and homeowners in this town in 2035, 2040, 2045. So that was somewhat, John, I mean, you know, it's basically what you're saying, but I just wanted to give a little more elaboration. We could have brought this in even less, but it would have been for the good of just 1 year, and it's not good for this community based on what we just saw the last 20 years.
That's all I got, Tom.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, I want to thank you for a really great presentation. And I hope the community appreciates all the work that you put into it as well, and making it understandable. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I will just say this because we're going to finish and then we'll take a couple minute break. But when Paul, I got to tell a little, not air dirty laundry, but Paul months ago, maybe last year, said, I just want to give you a heads up, Tom. I've done like a 5-year lookout with what we're building. He goes, 2025 is going to be ugly. We're in trouble. We're going to have the tax rate go up maybe 16% and all that. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, this is the reality as well. But he told me that early enough that we did some planning and we caught a very big break. We wouldn't have gone up on the sewer plant from 44 million to 80 million plus if Code Fairlight didn't hit the picture. And just the way all those negotiated deals and revenues and all of that, when you came in and showed us that the budget for 25 was this, I was incredulous. I said, there's no way it's that good. I was doubting Thomas, and he sat down there and I'm like, I'll be damned. It is, you know, a really nice job. But it's an effort all around.
Thanks. A year ago, there were many unknowns.
Yes.
And a lot of those unknowns ended up working out in their favor.
It sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.